All right, my peoples. A few little crypto updates here. My favorite one is the one as how I'm going to end this video. The Bitcoin crypto FUD. It's going to take, it'll consume all of the world's electrical power to mine Bitcoin in, just a few short years. What are you going to do about that? Where is this crap coming from? This is worse than... I don't know if there's been any worse FUD than that garbage. That isn't even at a FUD level. That's so ridiculous, it doesn't even make it to FUD level. But just a reminder, first before I get into that, LiveTree Adept. Remember, this is it starts December 1st, actually, so it's their time, and according to their countdown, looking at it right now, it's 22 hours away, which means 8:30 p.m. now, 8:30 a.m. tomorrow morning Eastern time would be about 12 hours remaining. Remember, this is the one I originally talked about several weeks ago, and then I had the guy Ash on not too long ago, recently. And, we have these crowdfunding platforms. They actually have already had one. It's been going on for like a couple years now. And they've already grabbed at least 5% of the market over there in the UK. And they want to basically, well, I'll just read it. What is the LiveTree Adept platform? Building on the success of our existing platform, we are now developing Adept, which is Advanced Decentralized Platform for Transparent Distribution. Adept is a decentralized platform that reimagines the process of content creation, funding, and distribution. Content reaches audiences via Blossom, a game-changing decentralized distribution model that is set to revolutionize how content is shared and consumed. Over the next 5 years, they aim to achieve 45% of present $1 billion crowdfunding market for film, TV, and content. It's specific. There's crowdfunding for everything. Hey, GoFundMe. I need, my kid needs piano lessons, and we're poor. Help us. GoFundMe. This is not that. This is strictly film, TV, content creators. And again, I'm always on that mindset. Take away the damn monopoly from somebody. Hollywood. With these crazy lunatic pedophiles, sex, inappropriate conduct, sexual harassment. It's out of control right now, which is incredible to me because the Webbot talked about this so long ago. Get ready for this thing to just blow up. All the way to the top, he said. And that's exactly what's happened. Now you got this guy from MSNBC or wherever the hell he's from. The hell was his name? And he was grilling O'Reilly. Grilling him. Back in the day. What was on here? Matt Lauer, right? Yeah. Matt Lauer. Unbelievable. Anyways. These people have held on to that power for long enough. It's time for a decentralized platform to take it and do what it was supposed to do with blockchain technology. Decentralize, put it in the people's hands, so to speak. Screw all these damn Hollywood bigwigs. I'm tired of it. Anyways, there is a pre-sale, and it's 50% off. Now, he sent me a link several days ago, after I talked to him on my show. I don't think this link that he sent me, like, in other words, if you want 50% discount, you got to click my link. I don't think that's the case, because when I go to the website, even though I already clicked the link he sent me, took me there, it shows a 50% discount on pre-sale. So I don't think you have to click this link that he sent me. So just an FYI, I don't think you have to do that. But just in case, I'm going to put it up in the description box anyways, just in case that is needed. Moving on. Oh, boy. Of2minds.com. Charles Hugh Smith. What are these people talking about? Bitcoin mining is going to consume the planet's electricity by the year 20. Right. And Grizzly Adams had a beard. Grizzly Adams did have a beard. Oh. Shooter McGavin. Did anyone do even a minimal check on the sensationalist Bitcoin electrical consumption story? Check the context before uncritically accepting sensationalist conclusions. Let's start with a primer on how to write a sensationalist story that can be passed off as journalism. 1. Locate credible sounding data that can be decontextualized, i.e. sensationalized. Present the data as fact rather than data that requires verification by disinterested researchers. Exaggerate the data as much as possible and set the tone and context with emotionally laden words, shocking, etc. And finally, select a context that sensationalizes the conclusion. Now let's look at a story that has been swallowed whole with little to no fact-checking or disinterested inquiry. Bitcoin's electrical consumption, i.e. the electricity consumed by mining/maintaining Bitcoin's blockchain. One Bitcoin transaction now uses as much energy as your house in a week. Let's start by stipulating that energy consumption is a consequential matter worthy of serious inquiry. It's important to measure the energy consumption of all the systems that operate within the current status quo and compare the consumption levels of these systems. With that in mind, let's look at the story. Right off the bat, the context we're offered to grasp the enormity of Bitcoin's mining consumption is the electrical consumption of Nigeria, a nation we're breathlessly informed with 186 million residents. Wow. That's a crazy amount of electrical consumption, right? Let's do some very basic fact-checking before we accept sensationalist conclusions, shall we? Nigeria consumes about 24 billion kilowatts annually, while the U.S. consumes 3,913 billion kilowatts annually, kilowatt hours. So Nigeria uses 3/5 of 1% or 0.6% of the electricity that the U.S. consumes. Now let's compare that electrical consumption with the amount of electricity consumed in the U.S. by residential devices and chargers on standby, i.e. appliances, devices, chargers, gizmos, etc., that aren't in use and do no work, but that are still consuming electricity. Well, about a quarter of all residential energy consumption is used on devices in idle power mode. According to a study of Northern California by the Natural Resources Defense Council, that means that devices are off or in standby or sleep mode can use up to the equivalent of 50 large power plants worth of electricity and cost more than $19 billion in electricity bills every year. Source, just how much power do your electronics use when they're off? And they link to it, May 7, 2016, New York Times. Please read the article to find out just how much power the 50 plus gadgets in your home consume doing absolutely nothing, zero work. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, annual residential electrical consumption totals 1.410 billion, 1,410 billion kilowatt hours. So 25%, the amount of household electricity consumed by standby devices, of 1,410 billion equals 352 billion kilowatt hours consumed annually by residential appliances and devices simply on standby mode in the United States. Now let's compare the annual electrical consumption of Nigeria, 24 billion kilowatt hours, with the annual residential electrical consumption of devices on standby in the U.S. The annual electrical consumption of Nigeria, 24 billion, is 6.8% of the annual electric consumed by household devices on standby in the U.S. That means the supposed consumption of Bitcoin mining is 1/114th of the power lost to residential devices on standby in the U.S. Devices doing essentially nothing. Now let's add in all the appliances and devices in government and private sector offices that are on standby. And let's conservatively estimate another 150 billion kilowatt hours total lost to all this stuff on standby. Let's now multiply the total of electricity lost to stuff on standby mode, doing no work whatsoever. In the U.S., 500 billion kilowatt hours annually by 5, since the U.S. consumes roughly 20% of its electricity globally. Since the U.S. consumes roughly 20% of all electricity globally. United States share of world energy consumption. They have a couple links. This gives us an estimate of all the electrical power lost to electrical appliances and devices on standby globally every year. 2,500 billion kilowatt hours. 1% of that wasted electricity is 25 billion kilowatt hours. Although they're saying it's KHH. I think he meant kilowatt. He just misspelled it. If you reckon this seems high, let's shave these totals to 1,500 billion kilowatt hours and 15 billion kilowatt hours. Let's go back to the story about Bitcoin's consumption of electricity, which tells us a shocking 215 kilowatt hour worth of juice is used by miners for each Bitcoin transaction. But then a few paragraphs down, we discover the electricity per transaction might only be 77 kilowatt hours. Nobody really knows for sure. 77 is 36% of 215. So the shocking consumption might overstate actual consumption by a factor of 3. Let's choose a number between 77 and the shocking 215, since nobody really knows what the real number is. Shall we guesstimate 135 or 2/3 of the high guesstimate? That would drop the annual consumption of Bitcoin mining from 24 billion kilowatts annually to 15 billion kilowatt hours. Less than 1% of the electricity wasted, not used, but the electricity wasted annually on standby devices doing nothing whatsoever. So Bitcoin mining is a threat to the planet because it consumes less than 1% of all the electricity squandered by appliances and devices on standby. If we want to stop wasting so much energy, perhaps we should start by mandating near zero standby power consumption for the hundreds of millions of devices which are not in use, that are nonetheless sucking up electricity every second of every day. Here's another thought. Check the context before uncritically accepting sensationalist conclusions. If you find value in this content, please join me in seeking solutions by becoming a $1 a month patron of my work via patreon.com. This is for charleshughsmith.blogspot.com. I'm going to open that link on up. See if it shows how many people are... Oh, he's got 396 patrons. Currently pulling in $1,657 a month. Good for him. Hey, it ain't easy out there telling the truth. Especially you start talking about Bitcoin stuff. Oh, who did you upset? Who's angry at what the guy just said? Oh, no. Oh, wait, he's not talking about Ponzi schemes. Never mind. He's good. He's fine. No one cares about that. But, yeah, this whole stupid story going around about this damn Bitcoin consuming, it'll use all the world's electricity by, 2030 or whatever the hell the original thing said. How ridiculous. Get the hell out of here. But I thought you might enjoy that. So, yeah, take care.